All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into all the buzz surrounding the Vivo X200 Ultra.
Definitely lots of buzz.
It seems like Vivo is really pushing the limits with this one, especially with how they're marketing it.
Hmm.
They're calling it TOT, camera flagship of 2025.
Bold statement.
Yeah. And the smartphone camera scene is so competitive these days.
It really is.
So for Vivo to come out and just stake that claim,
Mm.
what do you think?
Oh, it's certainly interesting.
It's definitely got people talking, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But is it just marketing hype, or is this phone really going to revolutionize the way we take pictures?
Right, right.
Well, I guess to figure that out, we have to sort of unpack what's fueling that claim. And I think a good place to start is with the sensor.
Yeah.
It's rumored to be a 11.4-inch 200 MP sensor.
Okay. So now
Yeah.
I might be wrong here, but
Sure.
isn't that actually a slightly smaller sensor than the one they used in the X100 Ultra,
You're right.
the previous model?
Yeah, it is.
You'd think that, like, if they're really trying to push the envelope here, they'd be going for the biggest sensor possible.
Well,
Man.
yeah, you would think so. And this is where it gets kind of interesting.
Okay.
So while sensor size is really, really crucial for light capture, it's not the only factor.
Right.
And Vivo seems to be betting big on this 200 MP resolution, which basically means they're squeezing a ton of pixels onto a slightly smaller surface.
So it's like a
Yeah.
trade-off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So the question is, how does having all those megapixels on a smaller sensor actually affect image quality? Well, think of it this way. With so many pixels packed together, each individual pixel captures a little bit less light.
Okay.
But then, by combining data from neighboring pixels through a process called pixel binning, you can boost light sensitivity, which is really helpful in low-light situations.
So they're not just blindly chasing,
Exactly.
the bigger sensor.
No, it's a strategy.
There's some thought behind it.
Absolutely.
They're banking on that 200 MP.
Yeah, and it's not just about the megapixels either. The X200 Ultra is also rumored to have a triple camera setup with roughly the same size sensor for all three lenses.
Wow.
The ultra-wide, the 35mm main lens, and a 200 MP telephoto.
Okay, so now this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty unusual to have consistent sensor quality across all three lenses, right?
Very unusual.
What are the implications of that?
Imagine this. No more compromising on image quality when you switch between lenses.
Wow.
Whether you're shooting like a huge landscape with the ultra-wide
Right.
or, zooming in close with a telephoto, you get the same high-quality image every single time.
So it's like ultimate versility without
Sacrificing.
any quality.
It
Yeah,
sounds pretty amazing.
it does.
Okay, so we've talked about the camera now. Let's talk about design.
Sure.
We've got some leaked images from Tina, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty sleek. Yeah, I've seen those too. And it looks like Vivo is sticking with the ring camera design and the quad curve display with flat edges, which they had in the X200 Pro.
Yeah.
But there's one interesting detail. The Zeiss logo seems to have moved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think that means? Could they have changed the camera arrangement or the layout underneath?
It's hard to say without more detailed images, but it definitely suggests they've made some changes.
It's like a little
Yeah.
little visual clue.
Little teaser.
All right, well, let's move on to what I think is the most exciting part of this whole phone, the 35mm Zeiss lens.
Yeah.
As far as I know, this is a first for a flagship smartphone.
It is.
So what makes the 35mm focal length so special?
Well, it's not just a technical spec. It's got a lot of history and legacy behind it.
Okay, I have to admit I'm more familiar with like the digital side of photography. So
Sure.
fill me in what's so special about 35mm.
Well, to really understand it, we need to go back in time to the era of film photography.
Okay, a history lesson. I love it. I'm ready.
All right, so the 35mm format, it really became popular in the early 20th century when 35mm film was invented.
Okay.
It was super portable and affordable, which was revolutionary at the time, and it made photography accessible to so many more people.
So it was like the disruptive technology of its time.
Exactly.
Kind of like how smartphones are now.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy. Just like how smartphones are changing photography today, 35mm film did the same thing a century ago, and that's why the focal length itself has so much significance.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection, but I still don't really get what makes it visually unique. Is it just like a technical thing, or is there something more to it?
Well, think of it this way. A 35mm lens sees the world kind of like the human eye does. It provides a natural perspective, not too wide, not too zoomed in,
Okay.
and that allows for a sense of intimacy and connection with your subject.
Mm-hmm.
It captures a scene in a way that feels really real and relatable.
So it's almost like the 35 millimeter lens has a personality.
You could say that, yeah.
Like it's not about manipulating the image, it's just capturing it.
Exactly. It's about capturing a moment authentically,
Right.
not using a bunch of distortion or crazy close-ups.
Hmm.
It's about getting the essence of a scene,
Okay.
telling a story visually
Mm.
with honesty and clarity.
That's really interesting.
And that's something that often gets lost in smartphone photography, where wide-angle lenses are kind of the default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
you're right.
Yeah.
I can see why people are so excited about this.
Yeah.
It's like bringing this classic timeless feel of 35 millimeter film photography to smartphones,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
can they actually pull it off?
That is the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Zeiss obviously makes amazing lenses,
Right.
but can they bring that expertise to a smartphone camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the issue of,
Right.
the X200 Pro, the last model had some issues with lens flare.
Oh, yeah, in bright light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in bright light. So I wonder, is this new 35 millimeter setup going to be susceptible to the same problems?
That's a valid concern. Lens flare is annoying, and Zeiss will definitely need to address that.
Right.
But here's a thought. Maybe, just maybe, this 35 millimeter focal length allows for a simpler lens design,
Okay.
which could actually reduce the risk of flare.
So less is more kind of thing?
Potentially, yeah. It's just speculation at this point, but it's a possibility.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this, 35 millimeter lens, which is potentially bringing that classic look and feel.
Right.
But we also have all this modern technology, the consistent sensor quality, the 200 MP telephoto.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like the best of both worlds, old school aesthetics with modern technology, and that versatility is just huge. Imagine being able to switch between those lenses, capturing everything from vast landscapes to intimate portraits, all with incredible quality.
It really is a photographer's dream.
It is.
Okay, let's talk design. What are your thoughts on the leaked images? Do you think the X200 Ultra is going to be a looker?
Well, based on the pictures, it definitely seems like they're building on the sleek aesthetic of the X200 Pro.
Yep.
That quad curved display is just so visually striking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how they managed to fit in the triple camera system without making the phone feel bulky.
Yeah, and I still can't get over that repositioned Zeiss logo.
I know, right?
It has to mean something.
Has to.
Maybe they've just shuffled things around internally.
To fit the 35 millimeter lens, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it's something else completely, a
Like,
little mystery.
a little mystery keeps things interesting.
I like it. All right, so I'd love to hear what our listeners think about all of this.
Yeah.
What are your first impressions of the X200 Ultra?
Mm-hmm.
Are you as excited about that 35 millimeter lens as we are?
Right.
What features are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, tell us.
Hit us up on social media and let us know.
Yeah, let's get a conversation going.
Yeah.
Is this phone a game changer, like Vivo says it is?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just another, step in the evolution of smartphone photography?
Right.
We'll keep digging into all of this as we get closer to the launch.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to zoom out for a second and just think about the bigger picture. What does this phone tell us about the future of smartphone photography? Is this just like a one-off experiment, or could it signal a bigger trend in the industry?
Well, I think that's what makes this so interesting. If Vivo can really pull this off,
Mm-hmm.
if they deliver on this promise of a truly exceptional 35 millimeter camera experience on a smartphone, I think it could have a ripple effect across the whole market.
So you're saying that other manufacturers might start paying more attention to lens choice and overall image quality
Maybe.
and move away from just like
Yeah, the megapixel race.
the megapixel wars.
Yeah,
Now that would be a welcome change.
it would.
Imagine choosing a smartphone not just based on processing power or screen size, but on the camera system
Yeah,
that it offers.
a phone that's actually tailored to your photographic style.
Exactly.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
Yeah,
All right, well, the stakes are high.
they are.
We'll have to wait and see if the X200 Ultra lives up to the hype.
We will. But, no matter what, it's definitely got people talking and debating what's important in smartphone photography, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. It sparked a conversation.
It has.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
From the history of 35 millimeter photography to the potential impact of the X200 Ultra on the industry.
Yeah,
So,
a lot to think about.
a lot to think about, but we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
In the next part, we're going to be talking about you,
The listener.
the listener,
Yeah.
and what all this means for photography enthusiasts.
Stay tuned.
All right, so 35 millimeter format, you said it got popular in the early 20th century.
Yeah, early 1900s.
When they invented 35 millimeter film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was portable.
Yeah.
It was affordable. And at the time, that was huge.
Yeah.
It really opened up photography to so many more people.
So it's kind of like the disruptive technology of its time.
Exactly. And, your comparison to smartphones is spot on.
Oh.
It's a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how smartphones are changing the way we take pictures today. 35 millimeter film did the same thing back then.
I see.
Yeah.
But I still don't really get, like, visually what makes it so unique.
Okay.
Is it just a technical thing, or
No, it's more than that.
is there something more to it?
It's about how the lens sees the world.
Okay.
A 35 millimeter lens sees the world kind of like we do.
Okay. Like the human eye.
Yeah, exactly. The human eye.
Okay.
It gives you this natural perspective.
Okay.
It's not too wide. It's not too zoomed in.
I see.
And that creates this sense of intimacy and connection with the subject. Like you're right there in the moment.
Okay.
It's not about, distorting reality or getting these super close-up shots.
Right.
It's about capturing the essence of the scene.
Right.
Telling the story visually.
Yeah.
With honesty.
Yeah.
And clarity. And that's something that I think often gets lost with smartphone cameras,
You're right.
where everybody uses those wide-angle lenses.
Yeah, you get that fisheye effect.
Yeah, exactly. So you lose that sense of natural perspective.
Okay, I'm starting to understand why people are so excited about this 35 millimeter lens.
Right.
It's like bringing that classic 35 millimeter film look to smartphones.
Yeah.
But the big question is, can they actually pull it off?
Can they do it?
Can Vivo and Zeiss make this work?
Zeiss makes incredible lenses. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But a smartphone camera is a whole other challenge.
It's a different beast.
Yeah, completely.
And then there's also the issue of, the lens flare we were talking about earlier.
With the X200 Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that had some problems,
It did.
especially in bright light.
Yeah.
So is this new setup going to have the same problems?
I mean, it's a valid concern. Lens flare is a pain, and Zeiss is going to have addressed that.
Yeah.
But,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this simpler focal length, the 35 millimeter,
Right.
maybe that actually allows for a simpler lens design.
Okay.
Fewer elements.
Less to go wrong.
Potentially, yeah. Less to go wrong, which could actually minimize the risk of flare.
That's interesting.
Just a thought, but
Yeah.
it's a possibility.
So we've got this 35 millimeter lens potentially bringing that classic look and feel,
Mm-hmm.
but we also have all this, modern tech.
Right. All the latest and greatest.
The 200 MP telephoto lens
Yeah.
and the consistent sensor quality across all three lenses.
That's like a hybrid.
It is.
You got the classic look with the modern technology, and that versatility is a huge draw.
It is.
You can go from wide landscapes to close-up portraits,
Mm-hmm.
all with the same amazing image quality.
It's really like a dream come true.
It is a photographer's dream.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit, talk
Yeah.
about the design.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far in those leaked images?
Well, based on the pictures, it seems like they're sticking with that sleek aesthetic from the X200 Pro,
Yeah.
that quad curve display.
Mm.
It's just so striking.
It is.
Visually, I just hope they manage to integrate that triple camera system without making the phone feel bulky.
Right.
Yeah.
And that repositioned Zeiss logo, I still can't get over that.
I know, right?
What do you think it means?
It has to mean something.
It has to.
Maybe they had to move some things around inside
Yeah.
to fit the 35 millimeter lens in there.
Or maybe it's something else entirely, a
Well,
little mystery.
Yeah, keeps things interesting.
I love it.
It does.
All right, so I'd love to hear what our listeners think about all of this.
Yeah.
What are your first impressions?
Mm.
Are you as excited about this 35 millimeter lens as we are?
What features are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, hit us up on social media. Let us know.
Yeah, let's get a discussion going. Is this a game changer like Vivo says it is?
Right.
Or is it just another step in the evolution of smartphone photography?
It's a big claim.
It is.
Okay, so before we wrap up this part,
Mm.
I want to take a step back and think about the bigger picture here.
Okay.
What does this phone tell us about the future of smartphone photography? That's a great question.
Is it just an experiment?
Right?
Or is this the start of something new?
I think this is where things get really fascinating if Vivo manages to deliver on this promise
Yeah.
of a truly amazing 35 millimeter camera experience on a smartphone. It could change everything.
Wow.
It could really shake up the industry.
So you're saying other manufacturers might start focusing more on lens choice
Yeah.
and image quality.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a shift away from the megapixel wars.
And that would be a welcome change.
It would.
Imagine choosing a smartphone based on the camera system.
Right.
that fits your style,
Exactly.
your photographic style.
A phone tailored to how you take pictures.
That's the dream.
That is the dream.
We'll have to wait and see if the X200 Ultra lives up to the hype.
We will.
The stakes are high,
They are.
but at least it's got everyone talking
It does.
and debating what really matters.
Yeah, what's truly important in smartphone photography.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
It is.
All right, so we've covered a lot in this part.
Yeah. From the history of 35mm photography to the potential impact of this phone on the entire industry.
It's a lot to digest.
But we're not done yet.
No.
In the final part, we're going to be talking about you,
The listener.
the listener, and what all this means for photography enthusiasts.
Yeah. How does this actually impact you?
So stay tuned. All right. So we've talked about all the tech, all the design, the history of 35mm.
Yeah.
But now I want to kind of shift gears a bit and talk about you, the listener.
Okay.
You know, what does all this mean for photography enthusiasts?
Right. Like, how does this actually impact you?
Exactly. So let's say you're a photography enthusiast, you're looking to upgrade your phone.
Mm-hmm.
What should you be considering based on everything we've talked about with the X200 Ultra?
Well, I think the X200 Ultra really highlights this idea that it's not just about having the biggest sensor or the most megapixels.
Right.
It's about how those specs actually translate into real-world performance.
So it's about the overall experience.
Exactly. The experience, the interplay between the hardware, the software, and the user's intent.
Like with a 35mm lens,
Right.
it's not just a gimmick.
No, it's a deliberate choice.
It's about a specific style.
Yeah, a style that emphasizes that natural perspective.
And that connection with the subject.
Exactly.
So if you're someone who values those qualities in your photography, then yeah, the X200 Ultra might be a great option.
Mm-hmm.
But what about people who prioritize other things?
Like what?
Like zoom capabilities or low light performance?
Well, the X200 Ultra doesn't exactly ignore those areas.
Right.
We've got that 200 MP telephoto lens,
Yeah.
which should give you some incredible detail and reach.
Mm-hmm.
And theoretically, the pixel binning should improve low light performance quite a bit.
Okay. So it seems like Vivo is trying to cover all the bases here.
Yeah, they are.
Catering to a lot of different needs and preferences.
It's an ambitious phone for sure.
But the big question is, will it all work?
Right. Will it live up to the hype?
You know, we can talk about specs all day long.
Yeah.
But we need to see how it performs in real life. And that's where you, the listener, come in.
Right. We want to hear from you.
What features are you most excited about?
Yeah. What resonates with you?
What questions do you have?
What would make this phone a must-have for you?
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going.
Let's talk about it.
This is more than just a product launch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dialogue about the future of photography.
And you, the photographers, are shaping that future.
Absolutely.
With your choices.
Yeah.
With your creativity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Vivo X200 Ultra,
Yeah.
we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What kind of photography experience do you want to create? What tools will help you tell your stories?